Two guest speakers tonight. I will introduce Chris Lung to the front of the stage. You know anything about it? You don't know if it's any good. Don't slap him yet. But you know what the hell you're talking about. Chris is the chief pilot and co-owner of Robert J. Lung Associates, where he has worked for over 40 years. He started in the color lab producing mural prints and learning how to hand cut large-scale mosaics before the digital age.
All right, thank you.
He moved to drafting department, where he learned how to hand draft ink and scribe mylars. Then he moved to the digital editing department, where he worked as a geospatial data editor. While doing this, he received his commercial pilot's license, began performing all flight duties for the company. Chris has worked in all the departments of the company, and he is currently working on his helicopter rating. Chris Lung, now you can clap. My next guest is Eric Ostrowski. Eric is a GIS supervisor, LSIT, Part 107 drone pilot, specializing in advanced geospatial analysis, drone surveying, and high-capacity 3D data production for public agencies. Wow. Words. He leads, a lot of words. He leads the county-wide drone operations for the Orange County Public Works, developing standardized policies and delivering survey-grade point clouds or the mosaics and 3D models integrated into enterprise GIS platform. He has a background in habitat sustainability modeling and extensive experience in photogrammetry. And go to my page. Raster analysis and CAD GIS integration. He also served as adjunct professor teaching drone mapping and data processing. Eric holds a Master of Science in Environmental Studies from CLSA Fullerton, I almost said Fresno, my bad, and GIS certification from the University of Montana. Please welcome Eric Ostrowski.
And he has better hair than me.
Oh. So today, Chris and I are going to be talking about aerial mapping options and aka the right tool for whatever job you might have. So we'll be talking about when to use an airplane, when to use a drone, and when to use either one.
Okay, from my side of it, currently flying this aircraft here. It's a Cessna 206, single engine, high wing airplane. Originally came with 6 seats, but we've stripped 4 of them out because there's a 21-inch diameter hole cut in the floor of that airplane. And the camera, which weighs about 280 pounds, sits down inside that hole and is bolted to the floor of the airplane. It's got turbo. We've had that up to 24,000 feet, which gives us a 1 inch equals 4,000 meg scale. It covers, I forget the numbers on that, so that's really high. I should figure that out. Miles. Yeah, 6 miles by 8 miles. So that's one we're flying currently.
For us, we've had, it's a DJI Matrice 300. We just got our American drone, but it supports multiple payloads, and max speed for us, or how we fly with this, for example, this sensor here, which is a combination of LiDAR and photogrammetry. I can hold it up for you if you want to see it. We can only fly at about 5 meters per second, or about, what is that, what did I put on there, 11.2 miles per hour to capture the data we need adequately for the cost or quality of the sensor.
Next one. Hey. The camera that we're using in the 206 right now is we went back to an RC30, a Leica RC30 film camera. We purchased a digital camera that we used. We got a Leica DMC, and we found out that it was too slow for large-scale aerial mapping. When the recycle was too slow. So we wound up going back to the film camera because the optics on it are absolutely astounding and gives great imagery. And it's tough to beat. So right now we're currently have our eye on another digital camera, but we're buying our time right now. But that's the current one that we're using.
Yeah, and also, if you want to interrupt us at any point, we're going to keep this pretty broad level. So if you guys want to ask any detailed questions, go ahead, and we can stop answering. For our payload, this is it's from the company GeoQ. It's the TrueView 535, and like I mentioned before, it's a LiDAR plus RGB combo. So you can see it has 3 different cameras. They're 20 megapixel cameras with a mechanical shutter that, they're 20 degrees port nadir starboard for each one, and mostly this is used to colorize, but the accuracy of the cameras themselves you can use for photogrammetry by themselves. But they both work in tandem. It's also what I like to call a shotgun sensor because of the automotive, like Waymos, they've made these sensors more affordable. So this is basically a 32 beam shotgun that shoots out, and it's low cost for what we do, but the setback with that is we have to fly low and slow to get the data that we want, compared to something like they call a Leica or a Regal scanner that's more like a rifle compared to a shotgun. I'll get into the map.
So for our side with the Leica and the 206 that we're flying, one of the bigger advantages over the drones is size. The footprint of the stereo model is enormous. On our smallest 20 scale stereo model, you're getting 720 foot by 1200 foot footprint, one single stereo model. So anything that'll fit in there, we can do it in a single model. Go up to 40 scale accuracies, jump up a little higher, and you're looking at the 1080 by 1900.
Yeah, it's a lot of focus.
So yeah, it's a little tight, blurry from here. So when we shoot that, this is comes into a digital workflow, and this is actually Blake right here working at his workstation. And you can see we've got the stereo monitor running here. And when he's in stereo collecting data, we're collecting the DTM, and you've got the imagery in 3D there that he's got with the glasses on. And then over on this pane over here, it's showing, without the imagery, it's just showing the DTM by itself. So you can look and reference it without the distraction of the 3D imagery there. And you look back and forth between the two, and you can start completing the data collection of the model. For targets, we were talking about targets earlier, or well, we were. The targets, when I have you guys set targets for us out there, this is something we have represented in the field. This is kind of what it looks like to us in the imagery. And the lower the airplane is, the greater that we can see. We can usually see cracks in the concrete asphalt about the size of your thumb. So when people ask us about the size of targets, depends on where we're at. If it's doing 20 scale versus 100 scale, the higher we go, the bigger we want the target. But we can start out 20 scale for something that's about 2 or 3 inches wide legs, each leg about 10 to 12 inches for an overall width of 18, 20, 24 inches, something like that. But what matters more there is contrast, white against the black. A lot of times, not a lot of times, sometimes I've seen white concrete, brand new white concrete, paint the target on that, it starts to disappear. And you get a little sun glare, and all of a sudden it's gone. So not even worth putting it in. So you gotta be careful with that. So that's the targets there. And then you had yours.
So this is, for us, for the drone, for this sensor, what we use a combination of both the LiDAR intensity returns off the scan, off the unit, but also the color images from the camera. And we use a mix. So if we're on AC, if we're on, like, say, a bike path or something in your channel, if we do a job for Mike Comiskey, we will use, I think they put it on, it's a 2 foot by 2 foot paint target. So just white and black survey paint, paint it on a nail, we have a stencil we use, bang, 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 4 corners. If we have monuments that are set on a channel that, are recessed down about 0.2 of a foot, if we work with one of our groups, usually we set something. I was gonna hang it up just to show you guys, for example. You might think it's a little overkill, but this is the kind of target we use. And the reason why we do that is because we get a lot of intensity returns off the LiDAR scan, and we see it very, very clearly. You can see the example right here. So that's why we use mesh targets. It might seem a little overkill, but it's better to be certain about the data we're collecting. So where Chris can collect or use smaller targets, we have to use bigger targets because, again, it's the cost of the sensor. So we have to accommodate for the costs and things we might not see. And then one I threw in there, go ahead.
Eric, you used the term mesh, and I was curious about
Yeah.
that. I get the size, the different intensity returns. Is it characteristic that it's a mesh, or is it more really the size?
This is more the size.
Okay, so
it's more the size.
So panel mesh, whatever. You're
Yeah.
saying the size of it.
It could be
that intensity difference.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
It's still reliant, like Chris was saying, on the intensity of the color, black and white. And then for fun, I threw this one in here. The company GeoQ made this one. They call it their accuracy star. So it's basically 6 different white pucks around a set of legs on a known point. So we could set it for our local base. We don't use it because it's not right all the time, but it does the trigonometry to the nail to calculate averages on each puck if it's accurate or not. Basically,
Using LiDAR.
Another one?
exactly. So it's interesting. It works a lot of the time, but we try not to use it because it's one of their technologies they're pushing. I thought I'd just throw it in there for fun.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's a very interesting device, to say the least. A lot of 3D printing and carbon fiber. All right, so now we'll get into the mapping.
So for this job, operation on basin over in Portola Hills, the job in the blue, the job limits are in the blue outline, and at 20 scale 1 foot contour accuracy, that's where data would be good for. We have a single flight line starting here, running down northeast to southwest. The red dots show the photo centers of each exposure, and it's creating stereo models. So we're showing 5 stereo models here out of a single flight line with 6 exposures. And then the triangles are the targets that we prefer to have. So for that layout, we need about 8 targets. And that would provide, like I said, it provides 20 scale 1 foot contours out of that setup or that flight plan.
How long are you on station?
For that, about 30 seconds.
Wow.
That's the funny part.
They're your only one direction. Are there any benefits of, you have your initial flight path and then going back in perpendicular for a few?
Perpendicular, you mean flying 90?
Yeah.
What's the question?
You could, certainly.
Are there any benefits to it?
Actually, sometimes I'll do something along those lines in areas where I think I might get obstructed, where you'll have a occlusion for stereo. Like downtown LA, you get a lot of high-rise buildings, and all of a sudden the buildings are leaning away from the imagery, and we'll fly, we'll actually change overlap to 80%, so that we'll jump so you can actually change stereo pairs. And you can also fly alignments either not necessarily perpendicular, but
A different flight.
but a
Yeah,
different flight plan, just to get the footprints different, so that the occlusions change and you can more completely run. So we'll do that occasionally, but on something this flat and that simple, that won't really gain you much.
And how high are you flying for like that?
For 20 scale, I'll be 1,200 AGL. So whatever I determine is the average ground level,
Okay.
then I'll put the airplane 1,200 feet above that.
So above ground level, okay.
Above ground, yeah. And then if we jump up a little higher, if the 20 scale accuracies is not required, you go down to 40 scale, 1 foot contours.
Laser.
Oh,
It's the top.
we're jumping up a little higher, so our accuracies are not quite as good, so that's good for 40 scale. And, still a 1 foot contour, but the accuracies will start to drift up a little bit, get a little more residuals. But that, that's not very bright.
Can you see it in the back?
You see
Good?
that? Okay. Anyway, you have 2 flight lines here. I've turned 90 degrees from the previous flight plan, and I covered the job down in 2 flight lines of 2 models. It's a little more efficiently covers that area. And then we can use 6 targets instead of the 8, where the 2 center targets work for each of the 2 different models.
Yeah, you got it.
And then last, if we only need 100 scale, so if you're not needing those kind of accuracies and you only need 100 scale 2 foot contours, we jump up even higher. And then the yellow lines are showing photos exposures, and then the flight line. So we'll have a single flight line, single model, 2 exposures, just 4 targets, and that'll cover the entire job and cover that whole thing for at 100 scale tubes. Questions? Okay.
Oh. So this is the funny bit. So he can cover that in about 5 seconds. It takes us about 20 minutes to an hour. And if we wanted to catch it, for example, in this case, 1 foot contours, we can fly at whatever elevation we're at anyway. Because at a minimum for what we're attempting to capture with, say, a sensor like this, for example, we could fly at about a minimum of about 125 feet to 250 feet for the sensor. And we'll still capture whatever we need. Our intentions are usually different. So in this example that we gave, we're capturing, I think Elliot's in here, we captured it for sediment calculations for the basin itself. So we're looking to use the LiDAR sensor to get beneath the vegetation, to a cut fill for the as-built to see how much is actually in there. But also we can generate the contours as well. So it's more apt or appropriate to say in this case that in this example here, and you can't really see the detail down here, that we're flying about 150 feet above ground level for about 20 minutes with 6 targets. And we'll be on station in about, we'll get this done obviously in about a day. This is 1 flight for about 20 minutes. It's usually what we appropriate. But the other fun thing I was talking about with Chris is, you know, you only take, what you say, 2 to 4 exposures tops for the other different scales.
Yeah, well, 100 scale, two for the 100, 2 models and 4 exposures for the 40, and then 5 models, 6 exposures for the 20.
How many photos do you think we captured for this? Anybody want to guess?
200.
Keep going.
2,345.
What? About 1,000.
That was my guess.
Yeah. And in comparison, well, you gotta keep in mind, you know, we have 3 cameras on here. And you told me the other day how many gigabytes 1 photograph is.
Oh, we take one 9x9 image, scan it at 12 microns, 8-bit, and it generates a 1.25 gigabyte image.
Sure.
1.5. So not only do you have to fly low and slow, but it takes you longer to do that size sort of project.
Right. And so it's kind of the theme we were talking about earlier that Dave brings up, is that something that Chris can do can cover a large area where he can paint a better picture with a broader brush, where what this can do is more like a scalpel. It's a surgical tool that can go in to get these finer details in smaller areas. And that's what we wanted to highlight here with this slide.
What's a typical overlap?
About 75 to 80. But it's if we take into account we want to use the photogrammetry as well. Because we can fly at 50% if we really wanted to just use the LiDAR. So it depends on what we're attempting to capture. So it's case dependent.
Okay, then we have aerospace considerations, which Aaron and I were talking about
I was going
earlier.
to ask about that with the.
I got several.
He's got his slides. So this is a Google Earth vertical image of the airspace in the SoCal Basin area. And the one thing I realized afterward, I sent this to you, that I should have expanded a little further south, because there's yet another airspace down there I forgot to put in, restricted airspace in Pendleton, yeah. So anyway, this is what the airspace looks like in over SoCal, and that's the blue area is LAX's Bravo airspace, and believe it or not, that actually goes far enough south. It's actually south of John Wayne. That's how big that airspace covers a massive area. So all of blue is strictly for LAX, and then for the smaller airports but still big, which is like John Wayne, Ontario, Burbank, the red area, the red outlines, which is the Charlie airspace, and then the white ones are lower and smaller, and they are around each of the towered airspace for each airport that has a tower. So airports like Corona will not have one because they don't have a tower. But they still have air traffic, but there's no tower, so it doesn't show up there.
Are you showing Disneyland skate park?
I did not.
It's on the next slide. We're getting ahead of us.
Literally next slide.
So yay, Disneyland, a forever pain in my rear end. Yeah, they call it a temporary flight restriction. There's nothing temporary about it. It's going to be there until the end of time.
Permanent flight.
Permanent,
Permanent.
flight restriction, yeah. And that goes from the ground to 3,000 feet, 5-mile ring around Disney. And basically you can't get in there to do any kind of loitering. Just
Why?
Not allowed.
Why?
Why? Because they say so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Disney
You
likes
told
it
us the
that
story
way.
the other day, remember?
Yeah, actually, this is Disney World has one too in Florida. There's this one in Orlando have the only 2 airspaces that are not controlled by the FAA but controlled by Congress, and they were able to. I talked to the upper guy at AOPA, and he told me this story. But basically, Disney bought
Bobby Airspace.
the airspace. Yeah, we got a guy out there and
Of course,
canvas
because
county.
Disney.
Yeah, they were able to pull,
It's all about money.
bring in enough political willpower there to actually get that airspace put in.
I guess it's a good time to ask this. I'd love to get like both the drone pilot perspective and the no, it has to do with TFRs though, like not like both from a drone pilot's perspective and an airplane perspective. Like, how do you guys as as businesses trying to do things for your customers, right? Like how do you manage things like how do you manage things like that? Like, yes, you have TFRs, but you could have any other NOTAMs or just other.
Well, they have other TFRs pop up and down all the time.
Yeah,
A bunch of them right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, not just the Disneyland TFR, but if the president comes into town at LA,
JD Vance is just here.
yeah, exactly. That knocks out. I mean, that's 30 nautical miles. Around,
big
that knocks out a large portion of northern Orange County. So, how do you guys manage COAs or just
You don't.
waivers? You don't.
You have a good contact
You
center.
wait till he leaves and goes back to
So
London.
you just have to work. You just work around that.
Yeah.
Do you not bother with
Those are the
waivers?
biggest problem, more than the presidential or VP or any of that, because those come and go 3-4 days. They don't stay very long.
Right. Yeah.
The worst are the fires.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The fires start and then they go,
Shut down.
yeah, shut down, and it's up for 60 days or until advised. It's like, oh my God.
Don't they have?
Well, it's easier for us because we're counting and we work with OCFA, so we can get in those areas. Where it's for private, it's harder to get in because you have to go through more red tape.
So do you guys have you have your something worked out with the fire?
Yeah, I have phone contacts on my list from OCAD, Sheriff's Department, DOD, FBI.
Eric, you bring up a good point. See, with the county, you have an easy way in. I, as a drone pilot, do not.
Yeah.
When I call Chris, he generally, Chris, can you fly through the Disneyland TFR?
Yes.
Well, wait, there's more, right? Wait for the next slide. Wait for the next slide.
All those green areas that are on his map, those are mapping limits.
Yes, those are proposal limits for various jobs. Yeah.
So that's why I asked, because you just said you'll generally fly at only 1,200 feet above ground.
For 20 scale.
Well, okay, just for 20 scale, but what if you need to do that somewhere in the Disneyland TFR? That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the years, I kind of figured out how to do it.
Okay.
Fly high enough and
Well, they're cones, so you actually, they're fun over
Takes the
there.
That's
stealth,
yours.
stealth point.
So I'll stay on this because I'll get to your point you're talking
The
about.
reason they had it for fires,
I
because people
figured-
fly their
Yeah,
drones
so
and they're
this-
running
this
into
plant-
the,
this-
into
so
the
we have
choppers and
automated
planes that
authorizations
dump
we can
water.
use as drone pilots up to a certain limit.
That's
Right?
what-
Reiterate that point, certain limit. And depending on who you know or who has your information, like for example, because Rich said that we are the county, people know us at John Wayne Airport because the county owns John Wayne Airport. When we fly San Diego Creek or Back Bay, for example, it's very easy for us to get access to that. Mike might disagree based on the project we did together, but it really is dependent on who we know. So I'll just skip to the next slide because it's the best one. Hang on for a second. I'm trying to remember the order we had in. Let me go back. So I can get waivers for certain airspaces. Actually, I'm gonna just skip ahead. We'll get to this one. This is the one you all are interested in. So for the waivers we have to do, we have to use our county connections to get the waivers that we need. And this is an actual letter with my name on it from Disneyland, from the mouse. That says we're allowed to fly in this with approval from the FAA for all our serials, for all our drones. And we renew this every year. Every year. Going back before the Sheriff's Department was doing it. And so that's how we get around those certain areas. And it's the same different things we have to deal with compared to Chris that he has to deal with if we're near schools, if we're in neighborhoods, you know, state agencies, state parks. State parks, I have contacts at state parks because, you know, we fly San Diego River Outlet near the Least Term Preserve, and they want to make sure we're flying at a far enough distance to keep them away from the birds. So we have to deal with more local variables at the level that we fly compared to, you know, knowing elevation depths that you might have to deal with.
Yeah, for me it's a little more straightforward in that the FAA basically owns the sky.
Yes.
So, with the exception of Disney's PFR.
PFR, exactly.
So I deal with FAA entities for that. So either the tower or air traffic control, ARTCC, different places around.
It's kind of different for us. So like if we're flying near Fullerton Airport, for example, because that's a private towered airport, and the phone number that we have, I have it on my phone, where I just call them and say, all right, just call us 15 minutes before, let us know where we're flying, what, you know, direction, miles, what distance, et cetera, et cetera. Call them 15 minutes after. And it's like Chris was saying, it's just that experience where you have I have the people in my contacts list for who I know, who I need to call. Same with Los Alamitos Air Force Base near Rossmore. And we have contacts there where we have to get COAs, where we're still trying to get certificates of authorization year long, like we have for Disney. So if we need to, like Mike, he had a job where he was doing the topo in there, right? Where it was difficult for us because it was during the FAA shutdown. And we couldn't get our COA through because it was shut down.
Which I could fly easily because the airspace disappeared.
And for me, at the level we're at, it does not. So once we're done with that, and I'll get back on track, we create our flight plan, deal with the relevant documents that we need, go out in the field for anyone that needs to know, you know, and then contact who we need to contact. So, like,
That's really interesting, Eric, because
Yeah.
you come from the background of working for such a large agency. So I'm working for municipalities, and I'm trying that. We're getting the city to say, please, let's do it. Then we have private clients, and they have no pull in that situation, and we're just shut out. Sometimes it's hit or miss in the middle. It's interesting to hear about getting those kind of CLAs.
And I've had to go out of my way to make friends with the group I mentioned, Kayak, that's part of the FBI, duty, NSA, all those guys, Sheriff's Department, to get those contacts so they know who we are.
I'm working on some of those names.
Oh, we can talk about it.
And then when it gets difficult, I just go fly the
Well, we actually had to deal with that today because Kayak, that group called us for a job we were doing in the jail, CLSA, for the supervisors, you know, wanted some drone photos of them digging dirt so they look all good for their voters, you know. And
I'm thrown in a prison. Good luck.
well, we got it though, right? But because we have a Disney TFR, the exemption for that, and then the funny one is they called us because the Angels were flying at 1 p.m. and we were flying at 1:30, so that was another 1 hour before temporary TFR. And so because of the connections that I have with that group in the Sheriff's Department, they were able to contact the FAA with a waiver within about 20 minutes, and we were able to fly today. But that's just the difference, like Rich was saying, between a government entity and a private entity and the leaps they might have to jump through to do this kind of work. There you go.
Oh, so this
Sorry,
is
moving on.
one of the other strengths that I have is the speed of the airplane and no traffic. I can fly 7, 10, 12 jobs in a flight, even more if I land and keep going. So in this particular one, I hit Hesperia, Riverside, LA, 2 areas in LA, Elsinore, Santa Anita, Long Beach, and then back to John Wayne.
Yeah. And then I was gonna try to do something funny here for that one job we were showing. And one day that little blip, we're all waiting on it right over there. That's a full day of work for us. Somewhere over there. Yeah, we'll move on to your unique projects we've both done now.
Hey, quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
On the last slide, is that like what you do like every day that you work, or is that just like part of what you do?
The flying?
The flying. Yeah.
It's just a part. I'll do 1 to 2 flights. It's on demand, but usually 1 to 2 flights a week.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I was up today.
You what?
I was up today.
Oh, nice. Okay, so it's not like an everyday thing. It's just like that's just like
No.
part of what you do. Okay, I
I
see.
spent a lot of time in the office, mostly doing proposals.
What did you get done today?
Job-wise?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't an actual production day.
I'm throwing a softball because I was up today and it was a residential lot.
There you go.
Just one.
Just one.
In San Diego.
There you go.
I had to drive an hour and a
No,
half
it
to get
was a
there.
reposition.
You understand.
It was a reposition day, but the last flight we did, what was the last flight we did?
It was to San Bernardino and then Ontario, all the way down to San Diego, and then up to Long Beach.
That's a
and
month of
then
work
back
for
to
us.
Chino.
Were you doing that, Josh?
So it depends, it's just very different every day. Every
That was
flight
the
is
adjournment
different.
of development?
Okay, so, unique projects that we've had in the past.
We got one question.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, this is more general for both of you. What are the hardest environments for both of you to work in when it comes to flying a plane and drugs?
For me, the hardest would be anything in LAX's short final. So from LAX to 4 miles east of LAX, 5 miles east of LAX. Have that. Yeah. Anyway, there's, huh?
Like, there's a previous like that.
So this odd looking section right here, that's surface to 10,000. The whole top of the LAX Bravo airspace is to 10,000 feet. This particular floor here is surface. So anything, they own anything and everything in that airspace right there. This box, it jumps up to 2,000 feet, then it jumps to 25, 4,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 feet as you go further east. It's like an inverted wedding cake, is the way they say it. But flying anything in here is a royal pain in the ass for me.
Even
Question
police
actually about that
jump
one.
over
What
there.
about the special weapons area?
Even
right
police
there, where you
truckers
could
won't go
just,
there.
where you'd be able to fly midfield?
They'll stop them.
Well, I can access that without going into the tower.
Right.
But unless I'm shooting, and I have to do that at 3,500
Up to 445 from the
45.
other, okay, yes.
So
yes, yes.
unless
On a
I'm
bearing.
on a bearing.
Between two VORs.
That's a little soft. But as long as it's over the airport at those altitudes,
Yeah.
if that's where the job is, then yeah, I can do it.
Oh, okay, but
it's gonna put me at 100 scale, that's not 20 scale or 40 scale mapping.
Oh, I see, the job may not be that, okay, I see, that's, okay. That makes more sense.
So that first triangle where they own from the ground, so that's gonna affect him as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so they'll let you take that one.
150 feet that you're flying, you're still affected there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of the examples I was going to say. Rich neighborhoods and jails. Those are the two biggest ones for us. And a lot of those areas that have those TFRs are usually areas near airports or rich
And
neighborhoods.
LAX short final. 'Cause
Exactly.
I got denied for that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
it's the same with like back.
yeah.
It's the same if we ever do back bay in your JWA, depending on the approach, depending on the day.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, we have to not only like the authorizations are easier for us, but we still have to coordinate with state parks in that area. So it's a whole. Someone doesn't get CC'd and someone gets pissed off, and I get an email.
Yeah, that's true. Blake was just saying that when we call, and especially like LAX, though it's the same for Vegas or San Francisco, I don't get that very often, San Diego. You can, we make flight maps up showing them what we're going to do, where it is, how we're going to do it, altitudes, name of the airplane, name of the pilot, blah, 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 all that stuff. Submit it to them, email it to them, call them, and grease the skid 6 ways to Sunday, but it always boils down to the last person that's on the other side of the radio when I get up there. And when I talk to him, got in a fight with his wife, or he's pissed off at his boss, or whatever, and he's just not at the end of his shift, whatever, he's grumpy, and you tell me to just go away, there's nothing I can do about it. I can go away and,
Drew, I've had that. Oh yeah.
yeah.
It depends on who you get.
Yeah, I don't care who you talk to. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever is up, whatever commander, whatever tower man, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Funny how that
so-
works.
Unique projects.
Yeah, okay. So, unique projects, a couple of them we had. One of the biggest that we've ever did was the Avalon Wind Farm out in Tehachapi and Mojave areas.
Okay.
And,
Next one.
yeah, here's this area here. It's all those wind farm windows from the farm there that go from Mojave Airport all the way west up and up the slopes up to Tehachapi. That was about 315 square miles, and we did all that at 100 scale, 2-foot contours. That took us a while. That was, I don't remember how many flight lines that was, but I do remember landing for gas at Mojave Airport and then going back and finishing it. So that was basically an all-day project. That's a little unusual. Oh yeah, here it is. You get that right there. Yeah, that's roughly the KMZ that we flew. Yeah. So that was.
I don't know how you
That took us a while. This one's LiDAR. This is aerial LiDAR station fire. And years ago we had a bunch of fires up in the San Gabriel Mountains, and the SCE wanted to know what poles and what lines survived. So they had to go out and rebuild and everything like that. So that's one of them there. And you can see if you look a little closer, there's contours that run up and down these.
Yeah, and we were actually talking about this example about how a drone might handle that terrain change versus a fixed wing, because we read an elevation model and it pings the elevation model at a certain interval I define. And if I make it, I say, all right, ping the elevation model to fly this ground level at like every 9 feet. It's going to take it longer for that drone to fly up. So it's easier for someone like Chris to possibly fly that, whereas I might have more issues depending on the speed because the gap. There might be a higher chance for gap, depending on the elevation.
And that's because you're flying
closer.
at a specific elevation above ground level.
Yeah, and it has,
okay.
Depending on the terrain model I give it.
And then, okay.
Yeah, if they're 150, 200 foot above the ground, if you have a 150 foot change in elevation, you got a problem.
Yeah.
So for us, even at 1,000 feet, our lowest that we could ever fly, 150 foot change is
Nothing.
10% of the image of the flight height. It doesn't make any difference.
It's just another benefit over fixed wing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yours.
So I'll just start some of the projects. So I'm going to talk about these three right here. Facility we scanned, Seven Oaks Dam, and then we flew John Wayne Airport at night. But I thought I would throw some of these in there. This is, my laser pointer's going. That's Majestic Peak after the airport fire.
You flew at night in the LiDAR job?
Yeah. That was a fun one. We had lighting for the RGB cameras. Oh yeah. This is Burial Linda Landfill. This is an example I want to put in there. It's like, fixed wing probably should have done this.
How many acres is that?
The Burial Linda is about 600-ish.
And how long did it take you?
About 3 days.
LiDAR?
Just 2 battery sets, so you know, government union hours.
Eric, you had lighting at John Wayne Airport at night from the RGB, and that worked.
Yes.
Wow.
How? Long exposure, slow and slow, long exposure. But I didn't say it was good or great. Don't put words in my mouth. But you got the idea. We ended up using the LiDAR for the majority of it. But this one is a night flight. We had to get the authorizations we were talking about. We actually pissed off the FBI and that group I talked about, and the sheriff's department showed up. Even though I don't have my badge, I turned it in. If Elliot's there, I turned it in today. We were SNA badges and everything. But that one was a cool one because we had target set on paint striping on the tarmac. And they actually used this for some of the work, I believe, not in this case for the work you were doing, Mike and Elliot, but it was for when Kevin was still with us, when we did it at the plenary for the Desert User Conference. But we used the control that survey had set to tie that in. So that one was a really fun one, but that was a lot of overtime hours at about 2 a.m. once a month when the airport was closed.
Actually, I have a question about that. Like, obviously, not saying this is like, yeah, a good idea to fly drone on an airport unannounced, right? But
No.
Right, yeah. But like, my question is that at night, I mean, the airspace around John Wayne is uncontrolled, is it not? It's
Once a month, it is completely closed down, right? Correct?
It shuts down every night at 10.
But completely, I think the runways are shut down earlier once a month. I think that's the reason why we're
Oh,
going.
it could be, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's why we were going at that one interval, is because they were more shut down.
But yeah, so like, why would you get in trouble for that? Like why?
Well, because someone didn't get CC'd on an email.
Okay. Like, yeah, even though the airspace at that time is uncontrolled, like that's I guess what I'm.
Well, it's okay, because
Well, the airspace is uncontrolled, but you still have to have access to the airport.
Well,
Inside
okay,
the
getting
fence
into the
line,
ice, yes.
You still got issues with security.
Okay, that kind of stuff.
There's still
Okay.
cops.
Wait.
Right.
It's truly uncontrolled, or is it not power? They still control air.
Charlie disappears.
Yes.
Charlie, they still
Yes, yeah,
control
exactly.
airspace.
Yes.
And you still get high.
It's shut down.
Yeah.
But obviously, airport security is still around. That's
Oh
what the
yeah,
issue
I could get
is.
arrested
Yeah.
easy. So we'll move on. So this is another example we did that I like. That actually is a central utility facility or power plant that Santa Ana, the County Public Works, owns and maintains. And we actually combined this with its Navis DLX2 backpack scanner with our drone unit here as well. We tied them and mirrored them together so the engineering group could have access to this model inside a viewer, so that if they ever wanted to reference tolerances or anything like that, they could have a model to refer back to. So that was a fun one because I can't obviously show it here, but the amount of piping in there is insane. But it was a really cool model. This is one of my favorite ones. I hate driving out here, but I love flying it. We flew this a long time ago, I think, when we did a dam report monitoring 3D model for Elliott to help document, just visualize the station monitoring. And this one was just an example of saying that could have been done fixed wing super easy, but this one took us all day. Left the office at 5 a.m., got back at 5 p.m., you know, all the issues in the world, but it's still a cool model and I like it, and that's all it matters.
How many batteries in that team?
Good board. Probably 6 sets of batteries. Yeah. So that was a fun one. So what we're hoping to accomplish with this is what's the the right tool for your project. We want to give you guys a little background between fixed wing and drone mapping options. What is the project size, speed, how soon you need it, depending on how the drone can get out of the scalpel or how much coverage a fixed wing could have. And where's the site? How far is it away? Like I just said. How far is it away from the mapping professional in your office? Because for us, for example, we're in Santa Ana and we serve the Santa Ana area. So, anything else you want to say, Chris?
No.
All right. Any questions?
Talk about June gloom.
Oh. What?
June gloom.
Oh. I hate June.
It's actually great for us.
May, June.
Really?
But that being said, this June's been fantastic. It's
Not much.
very little, a bit of overcast, but yeah, it's my least favorite time of the year to fly. It's just
How
that-
low does that get, Chris?
Oh, it usually parks at about 1,000 or 1100, and
Yeah,
it'll
it's
extend
just like-
all
it's
the way to
ridiculous.
Banning, just short of Palm Springs, and not clear up the entire day. And it'll go weeks that way. It just basically grounds us, or doesn't ground us like you get up. It just I can't shoot anything.
Yeah, but that's funny because you bring that up because that's great for us because the altitude we fly at, that actually takes all the shadows out of the stuff we fly at. So we don't have to deal with any shadows or anything like that because of that.
So
So
it's funny because we actually use the shadows to help differentiate.
Well, I got a question
That's the
for
difference
you.
between a person looking at it and a machine looking at it.
yeah, no, it's
The
true.
machine, that dark shadow is just a hole.
Mhm.
And the person looking at it is information.
Mhm.
Because they're,
Yeah.
It's reference.
that's actually, to me, and I do both of these, obviously I work with you, in the processing side of things, the drone side, it's fast, it's automated,
Mhm.
it's incredible. it's
Yeah,
speed.
auto finds the
But when you mentioned the term scalpel, I thought that was interesting because then I reverse it sometimes and say, the information I can pull out, the scalpel is a human. Who can
It's a
get
good
in
way to
there
say
and
that. I see what you're saying.
understand and pick things out that
Yeah.
the computer might just.
Masking out cars, things like that.
Masking out, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a need for both right now.
Well, and
The size of the project, the access, the distance from the office,
Yeah.
the air traffic,
Yeah.
issues.
It's 3.
That's how I decide which one I'm doing. If I'm flying it,
So I was gonna say it's
And that's like when Dave brought this up, that's what we wanted to talk about, the major differences between those two, because it's not something that's going to replace fixed wing mapping or anything else. It's just another tool in the tool belt. It's another way to paint a picture.
all surveying equipment.
Yeah. You know?
Still breaking out your level.
Yeah. I got a question for you. I know that the weather conditions, speaking of that, like even the wind at ground level, at a certain point, you can't fly the drone. It won't let you do it. And
Dana point on a windy day now.
oh,
Beach.
Yes, exactly.
but I don't think it affects you. If it's windy down at ground level, it doesn't not necessarily the same.
No, it's
Yeah.
not as big a problem that way, but
About
it
turbulence.
does. Turbulence was what I was
Yeah.
going to say. And
Yeah.
then him with his eye on the viewfinder.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah,
He's
well,
not
it'll
happy.
get real bumpy, and I gotta rest my head against this to look through the sights. Sometimes I got to really make sure my head's pressed down so it doesn't come up and I don't lock on my
We discovered at a certain point you can't fly the drone will fly. Not everything will come back. Like I had to catch one of the drones because we lost a leg on a nice shiny drone at our last place. So. And this was out in
I thought that was your girlfriend, but now I understand.
back east.
I mean, this is Southern California, right? I mean, it's not like you have, like, as far as like convective conditions go. I mean, it's like the weather between summer and winter here. It's like it's not that drastic, right? I mean, it's just
Though in January, February, maybe a little bit of December, you start getting the Santa Anas.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
The Santa Anas can get kind of rough.
Well, because you have basically a swapping of the high and low pressure systems between the ocean.
Yeah,
and the
well, it's
desert,
the
right?
turbulence. It's not so much the direction of the air moving, because normally it's onshore, it turns into offshore. That's not that big a deal. It's the turbulence.
Every day.
And you get a lot of
That's what
road
happened.
turbulence as it comes off the mountains.
We flew.
All that air is extremely turbulent. And
Catch it. You're gonna have
it's
to catch it.
gusty.
Because I'm like, what?
So it's not a constant. So when we're flying a flight line, especially long ones, one of the longer ones we've done is the high-speed rail up in Central Valley. We'll have 10, 12 mile long flight lines, just droning and shooting. That's easier to do when the air is calm and still.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you have a direct crosswind and it's blowing, not a problem because the airplane can take a cant as it's flying across. It's not. It's the turbulence because it'll come and go, and then all of a sudden you're fighting the whole thing, and it's just back and forth. We have a very expensive gyro on the camera, so the gyro is constantly. It looks like it's moving, but it's actually not. The airplane's moving around.
Right.
So, but it can make it a lot more difficult when it's turbulent like that. But if it's steady, it's much easier.
So, Eric and Chris, there was a question earlier about multiple flight lines. So I tend to ask Chris to fly multiple flight lines, different perspectives and whatever. Because one of the advantages of being lower with the drone is you are looking sometimes under canopy. You're also, when you go to do your orthos, you are looking down on most objects. So I get less tilt, less lean over from what I'm doing. But when I fly a manned aircraft with you, I ask you sometimes, I want those different perspectives. The same way I want you to fly it the other way, fly 2 flight lines, because, so it was 30 seconds, now it's a minute. So something to think about from both perspectives is you can work with both that way.
And that's why I said earlier, it's like that basin I showed as an example. We have different purposes for the data sets and the way we fly, like you just mentioned.
And I'd be happy to do that, but I find that jobs are usually very price sensitive. So if I was to fly extra lines back and forth just because, and I can get more coverage in different areas, then it's all great and it'll make a better product, but it's going to drive the price up. And it's just not pretty much tenable in the market.
And it's pretty cheap and easy for me to just slap on another flight line if I'm in the air. It's just, like you said,
Well,
it's a
it's
scalpel.
easy, yeah.
It's a scalpel versus a paintbrush.
This is a different question, but who at your company, who at the county facilitates conversation between Disney, FAA, FBI? Okay, so it's not a different department.
See these eyebags?
Well, it's the PIC, right? I mean, that's kind of those are
Well, same. It's just
responsibility,
really
right?
cheap.
Yeah.
Pilot. So,
Can you talk a bit more about like the extraction stuff, mapping that would happen afterwards, like what the differences are with that?
yeah, sure. We left that out because we want to keep it pretty broad level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're short on time.
Yeah, we're short time, but I can go fine. We can talk about it with you.
Come back for part 2.
Yeah, part 2. There you go. Power line extraction. Any other questions?
I got one. For the aerial mapping, you talked about wind shear. Obviously, you're pretty much staying at the same elevation. What about thermals? What happens if, like any thermals?
Thermals?
Yeah, what happens if all of a sudden you got a 30,
Well,
40, 50 foot
doing
drop?
140
or-
miles an hour, the thermal you pass through is usually so fast that
Okay.
you don't feel it as a thermal. It's just
And it doesn't
it's a bump.
affect anything as far as the mapping
Well,
is concerned?
with the gyro, it takes takes it out, the camera's steady. And again, you don't really feel the thermal as much as you just fly through it and just feel a little bump is all. So, and that just gets, that just blends in with all the other turbulence from the rotor wash and from hot air, cold air drifting down or whatever. So,
And Eric just has to use a lot more batteries.
Yeah. Watch your drone go like this. Any other questions? Eric.
Silly question. What is the smallest piece of site culture that you guys site, like curb, asphalt, dirt? What's the smallest? The smallest you can capture. I know what you can capture.
Yeah.
You, but are you guys getting asphalt? You getting curb? You just getting buildings?
absolutely. Oh, no, yeah, we, at 20 scale, at our lowest altitude, FAA restricts us at 1,000 feet above the ground.
Okay.
If we're not landing or taking off. Working at that, I can do 20 scale, half-foot contours. So what you're gonna be looking at there is probably 1 to 1.5 tenths.
Oh, okay, okay. And what do we get?
Oh, I always tell you guys 2/10, but in reality, it's about 1500s.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, the quality of the sensor.
Yeah.
Right, but it's a different scale level of
Yeah.
detail.
Where the drone will have a big advantage is in ortho photos, the
Yeah.
clarity of an ortho photo.
Yeah.
Because they're only 200 feet, 150 foot above the ground.
Tilt shift.
The resolution is really high because they're so low.
Third piece of bubble gum from the crack.
Yeah, exactly. There was one example we did that was such a fine resolution. We were able to delineate the level of black on the color image for a tar snake and classify the tar snakes out on pavement, essentially. Because it was so high resolution per pixel. It was about, I think it was 3 centimeters per pixel. Yeah.
Question for you. The 1,000. Sorry. the 1,000-foot restriction is that that you mentioned. Is that just because you're always working in congested, over congested areas,
That's a good
or
question.
is there like something else involved in that? Because like if you're in a non-congested space, you can go down to 500.
That's true, I can, but I'm rarely in an area where there is nothing around.
And your camera can
Truly
run
not.
500 feet.
Probably not. Yeah, that'd be the next problem, maybe the cycle rate. We have the same problem we have with the digital camera at 2,000 feet. We probably have a problem with the RC30 at 500 feet. It's just the airplane just smoking across the ground that fast. It's just happening too fast.
Right?
And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess actually, if you do need to go down to 500 feet, I mean, at that point, you could probably just get a waiver. It's only another 100 feet above ceiling 400, right?
Yeah, different tools.
So okay, so it
Yeah.
just depend. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
what
with
about,
that being said,
Yeah.
we can see, and I've seen very often on the top of the roof, you see conduit, inch wide conduit outside of your thumb. So the resolution, while not as good as a drone, you still see very high resolution with the camera.
One more question, and we'll finish up.
we often have like a road going through the edge or something,
Yeah.
we're talking about flying over cars, people.
Oh, that question.
No, what?
No, it's fine. You're talking about flying over people, cars, things like that, right? Yeah, no, that's it. That's the answer. Don't loiter. It literally, and I've had conversations with our insurance providers, county council, all these people. We talk about this stuff all the time. It's intent. What is your intent? What is the scope of your job? Are you within the scope of your job? What is your intent? Are you intentionally flying over people? Do you think you should be doing that? Then you probably shouldn't. It's one of those things. Just don't be stupid.
It's the spirit of what the regulation says, right?
Yeah. If you're going out there being stupid and flying around and crashing stuff, you're gonna get in trouble.
You're not going to
Exactly.
You're not going to accidentally fly over a crowd of people unless
No.
you have authorization. from
Exactly.
prior permission.
Exactly. So hopefully that answers it. That's intent. Any other questions? Good?
All right, thank you very much. All right, we will move on to the raffle.
Yes.
Raffle tickets out.